This time I'll call the January 23rd, 2025 meeting to order for the Dickson County Commission. Would you please stand and join in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For the agenda, we do have one item to be added, and under the annual reappointment resolution, we're going to also place in there the election of the chair and the vice chair for the Dickson County Commission. And I'll plug those names in at the time. And otherwise, I would move that we approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second it.
We have the motion. We have the second for approval of the amended agenda. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The consent agenda includes the minutes of the January 14th meeting and also the payroll of $456,453.66. The AP from the prior year of $115,991.46. For the current year, $241,970.77. Abatements of $54,733.28. Added tax of $111.52. There's also SD security, and this is by wire, $3,534.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have the motion, we have the second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So the consent agenda is approved. Commission comments, Ron.
I did spend quite a bit of time yesterday at the Juvenile Detention Center. We're representing about 15 other counties down there. We were having some sickness going on, so we're going to have to be pretty careful in the facility. But things are going quite well. They're still working on the expansion situation, checking with other facilities to see about using them. And obviously, when you contact the sheriff's department, they're obviously against those kind of things, but it goes deeper than that and higher levels than that. So things are moving forward. We're doing quite well with that. Other than that, I want to thank the guys for the hard work they've done with the snow removal. I think any of the communities we've seen around, folks have worked together to get that snow removed. And that's nice to see people working together because you can't have enough resources in a situation like we've had recently. Safety wise, I didn't hear of any bad accidents, quite a few slide offs, but that worked out really well. So we need to be very proud of the folks taking care of us. That's all I have.
Kenny.
Last week, I attended the new commissioner orientation, and I found it was quite a good event. Taught me a lot. I don't think it was long enough. There's obviously a lot we didn't cover, but I really enjoyed it. That's really all I got to add. I don't have too much this week, guys.
Okay. Basically all I have, and Janelle was there yesterday also, but the KAC put on a meeting to give us some updates as far as what some of the legislative issues are going to be, but also some of the ones that the KAC is interested in. They emphasized a lot the need for partnerships and working together. I think a lot of the message that I liked about it is they pointed out that and this was in conjunction with the League of Kansas Municipalities. So our city partners were there also, but they said, whether you're elected as a city commissioner, a county commissioner, as a state representative or a state senator, you're still all working together whenever you can for the good of Kansas, and the importance of working together and trying to achieve the same things, even though depending on what level or what group you're with, there's, different things that you take care of. And they spoke a lot about what it takes to run county government when we were in our particular session. And sometimes I think that message is lost a little bit, that there are certain things that specifically we are charged to take care of and provide as far as services. I did get opportunity earlier yesterday morning. I did go to the state capitol and I visited quite a bit with Senator Bowers. She has family from around here. She's out of Concordia, and her district it surrounds us, but really doesn't reach into Dixon County now. She has family here, and she's very rural oriented, and it's almost like we have an extra senator representing us. Senator Clays happened to be out of his office. I did visit briefly with Senator Tyson, who's going to be involved and both Senator Bowers and Tyson have been there quite a while, so they're up there in leadership. And then Scott Hill, I visited with him briefly, and then Lon Pishney. And Lon Pishney actually used to be a county commissioner, and I think he's used to be on the board of directors out at Fort Hays State. So anyway, he's quite involved throughout the state, and he grew up north of Clay County, and he and his wife live out there in Garden City. But anyway, he's kind of hitting the ground running down there. So they have a lot taking place. The legislature has messaged to us, as well as to everyone for that matter. They're kind of on a fast forward that they are going to get everything accomplished. And so they are having hearings, and the hearings are taking place. The one issue that I did have someone bring up to me, they're very concerned about the 3-mile radius that it's expanded for zoning that cities. There's consideration towards that. There's some advantages because it can be organized in a way that you want organized growth and methodical growth, and cities have a tendency to want to expand. And the other side of that is in the rural areas. If they already have their farmstead or farm or ranch established, they don't want to have to deal with city rules as far as the grazing of the cattle and some of the way that they do things. And so anyway, that issue is coming up next Thursday. Angel Cushing also sent me an email in regards to it. Next Thursday, they're having a hearing, and it's Senate Bill 37. And so written testimony can be sent in, and actually Senator Bowers is on that committee. So some of the discussion I did hear yesterday is that there's some perceived flaws of that bill, and there's some drawbacks, and probably rather than try to reach a decision, but anything can happen, instead of trying to reach a decision in this session, they may have a study and give more time to it, and push it back to next year. Janelle, I guess you'll cover this in your report, or did you want to add anything to that?
I think you covered it very well. I don't know if there's anything else that I would add other than what you said. So.
Okay, so that's all I have then. And we'll go ahead and move on because we have no petitions or proclamations. This would be the time for public comments. And I know we were going to review this. I mentioned that we're going to review it, and we still may, but for the time being, we'll go ahead and have Janelle read the rules of public comment, and then we're going to see if there's a way to reword that, or if it's adequate just to have it online or posted. But for today, we'll go ahead and, Janelle, if you'll read the rules as far as public comment.
Mm-hmm. For the Open Meeting Act, KSA 75-4317 and 75-4318A, as the elected board, the county commission is not allowed to meet or make any decisions without posting the meeting. They are only allowed to act on items on the agenda which they set. During the regular meeting, the county commission may allow for public comments on items not listed on the approved agenda. If you wish to provide comments, please come forward to the podium and state your name and address. If you are online, raise your hand and we will unmute you. Please state your name and address. Each person may speak for 3 minutes. The allotted time will start after the speaker has given his or her name and address. Public comments shall be addressed to the county commission only and not to the speaker or the audience. Only the county commission will be permitted to ask the speaker questions. The public comment period is not a back and forth discussion with the county commission. You should make your views and input known to them, but it's not a time to ask them questions. You should not expect them to respond to your comments. Comments may express support or agreement with the previous speakers, but in the interest of time, please do not repeat the same information. You may state something to the effect of your name and address and you agree with the previous speaker. It is important to maintain a respectful, non-threatening atmosphere for anyone who would like to speak. Please do not engage in such actions as cheering, booing, clapping, insults, threats, etc.
Is there anyone that would want to speak? And you could come to the podium and give your name and also your address. And, or if there would be anyone, there's several watching online and viewing online, but if you did want to speak, indicate online and we can unmute you and allow for comment.
So far, nobody has.
It does not appear that there is anyone that has chosen to speak at our meeting today. And so we'll go ahead and move on into the agenda. And the next item is the reports of our county officers. And also I'm going to kind of point out, I don't know what, I think Doug his schedule would allow on the executive session. We'll probably just wait till it comes up in the agenda. But we'll go ahead and have our county report at this time. So our county administrator, Janelle Dockendorf.
Commissioners, there is an open position on the Planning and Zoning Board. And we've been looking on the west side of the county, but obviously anybody's more than welcome to apply. The application is online, or you can contact myself or Tim Hamilton. We have an open position on the North Central Flint Hills Area Agency on Aging Board, and that's a 2-year term. So we'll be looking to fill that. Our Assistant County Administrator and Finance Director is working on the annual audit, and this is a statutorily required audit that we have. We have a Purple Wave auction ongoing right now for those items that you declared as surplus 3 weeks ago. Our Human Resources Director is working on our annual pay work, which is a workers' compensation audit. The Emergency Manager is working with a local nursing home for some training as well, which they reached out to him, so we appreciate that. And the Appraiser's Office is continuing to work with citizens on hearings that have been scheduled with them on the payment under protest. So, and that is all I would have unless you have any questions for me.
Okay. Would you want to go ahead and mention about the meeting that you've been invited to participate in
I can do that.
as far as on the the roadways and kind of how that came about? And
So the Kansas Local Transportation Department reached out to Martin and I about, I've got my notes here, participating in a peer exchange, which is focusing on reducing roadway departures. And the reason that we were selected or asked to participate is because of some of the countermeasures they call that we do. And that includes the 6-inch white paint striping that we have on all of our roads, the clearing of the roadways, the flashing stop signs, the widening of intersections and shoulders. And we thought that this would be a good thing for the county to participate in. So the Federal Highway Administration is putting this on, and they are paying the expenses of that. There are 3 counties, Leavenworth, Dickinson, and then the Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation that'll be participating, as well as several states. That includes Illinois, Texas, Missouri, and South Dakota. And there are 4 pillars that the FHA is looking at, and that's public roads, a systematic approach to safety, safety action plans, and countermeasures. So the benefit to us is we can work directly with the Federal Highway Association and have a seat at the table to ask for additional funding for rural roads. As you remember, we received a grant for the high-risk rural road program, and that is for improvements to a mile of road between Jeep and Key Road on 1400 Avenue. We've got the deep ditches and no shoulders to speak of. It's dangerous. We've had numerous accidents. It's a highly competitive grant that we have applied for over the years, at least a half a dozen times since I've been here, and we've never received it before now. The only reason I think we received it is because we lowered the amount of miles that we're asking for. So we're down to 1 mile, but it's still a $1 million grant, you know. So, and we've got 208 miles of paved roads that we're responsible for, and on 1400 Avenue, 20 plus miles that we have. So this gives us an opportunity to learn from other counties and states what they're doing, let them know what we're doing, and then also, like I said, see if we can't seek some additional funding from the federal government for assistance. So it's exciting. I think it speaks very highly and speaks very well of not only our highway department, but our county and the focus that we have on this. And paint striping in particular has been something that we have felt was very important for years and years. And that's what our citizens have come to expect. And that's a priority that the sales tax question that we put out in 14 and again in 19, that some of the sales tax dollars would be allocated towards public safety. And that's a big part of it. So.
Okay. And I don't know that Doug had anything in particular.
I'm not sure.
When he arrives, we can ask him and go back to that.
Mhm.
Under notices and communications, I did not really
There's no mail.
have anything. And once again, sometimes people do send things in as far as in writing, a letter or a note, also emails, sometimes public comment, but we're certainly welcome ideas or suggestions or comments that people have. I was at a meeting the other day and someone mentioned, as elected officials, when was the last time someone said thank you? And you know, we do hear that, and it's always encouraging. And yet, if you always want to hear, I'll say constructive criticism where people have some ideas or disagreements. And but I know there actually, I think Leah Hearn had mentioned that she had several people just mention how efficiently her office is run, and how helpful they are there, and that they had thanked her for that. And I thought, well, that's, you know, it's good to hear encouraging words like that. So thank yous are always appreciated also. The next item we have is our annual reappointment resolution. And this is also one that we added to this portion, the election of the chair and vice chair. Actually, or the appointment of the chair and vice chair. Do we need to do it by election? I think it has to be formalized.
Yes.
And so.
A nomination and then a second and then a
Okay.
vote.
So I would go ahead and nominate Kenny Rolfeson to be chairman.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have the motion and the second for Kenny to be chair. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So actually, since you're the chair, this is kind of the handoff.
Okay.
And so I guess the next thing on the agenda is to elect a vice chair, but also then you would go through the resolution and so anyway, all in favor of that motion,
I'll make all in favor of the motion.
say, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. So Kenny, congratulations. And maybe next meeting or something, you may have some comments or something you want to share as far as some goals or ideas, or if you want to do that now, or just go through this at your meeting.
I will address that in other business down below. We need to open it up for nominations for vice chair then.
I'll make a motion to nominate Lynn Peterson for vice chair.
I'll second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Our new vice chair is Lynn Peterson. Next order of business is to address resolution 012325. Now, I don't know the rules here. Do I need to read through this?
Usually we do, so it's recorded the actual names. So it is kind of a lengthy one.
I will read through it. It is a long one. This resolution is establishing the annual reappointment of certain positions of representatives of Dickinson County as set forth by KSA 19-212. The county commissioners possess the authority to make appointments, conduct business in Dickinson County to include the designation, certain functions, and the appointment of certain persons in various boards, positions, functions as needed, which states, and I'm going to reverberate here, the Board of County Commissioners of each county shall have the power at any meeting to represent the county and to have the care of the county property and the management of the business and concerns of the county in all cases where no other provision is made by law. Therefore, the below listing individuals and businesses are hereby designated and appointed to the respective positions and or functions for the year of 2025. Appointment John Holtgren at Dickinson County Health Officer. Designate official hours for the courthouse as 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily with holiday closures as set forth by the Dickinson County Employee Handbook. Designate work session and meeting days and times for commission as Thursdays, with work session from 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. with regular meetings starting at 11 a.m. until conclusion. Designate the Abilene Reflector Chronicle as the official county newspaper for 2025. Appoint Commissioner Peterson as a representative to the Central Kansas Mental Health Center Board for 2025. Appoint Commissioner Roller as a representative to the North Central Kansas Juvenile Detention Board for 2025. Appoint Commissioner Rollison as representative of the North Central Regional Planning Commission Board for 2025. Appoint Commissioner Rollison as a representative to the Dickinson County Economic Development Corporation for 2025. Or does that? I'm going to have to say that.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Designate the official depositories of the county for 2025. On that list is UMB Bank, Abilene Branch of Astra Bank, Solomon State Bank, Solomon Branch, Solomon State Bank, Abilene Branch, Pinnacle Bank of Abilene, Dickinson County Bank of Enterprise, Central National Bank of Harrington, Citizens State Bank of Woodbine, First National Bank of Hope, Hope Branch, First National Bank of Hope, Harrington Branch, First Bank of Kansas, Abilene Branch, Bennington State Bank, Abilene Branch. Adopt official fee schedule for 2025 to be published on the county website. Adopt 2025 payroll calendar as submitted by the HR director. I believe you guys got that when you arrived this morning. And that is the resolution in its entirety. Do I have a motion or just a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept resolution 012325.
I'll second it.
Any discussion before we vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Now question, do I need to sign this one or will you have an actual?
There should be one in the folder. I think actually it was in front of Lynn
Okay.
to be signed.
Okay.
All three of them should be in there.
I suppose we can do that in due time, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
you can do that after the meeting.
Next order of business is the gap waiver resolution 012325A. As follows, whereas Dickinson County, Kansas has determined that the financial statements and financial reports for the year that will end in December 31st, 2025, be prepared in conformity with the requirements of KSA 75-1120A, are not relevant to the requirements of the cash basis budget laws of this state, and are of no significant value to the county commissioners or the members of the general public of Dickinson County. And whereas there are no revenue bond ordinances or other ordinances or resolutions of the municipality which require financial statements and financial reports to be prepared in conformity with KSA 75-1120A as they apply to the Dickinson County for the year ending December 31st, 2025. And just to reverberate, this is actually section A in that statute if you go look it up. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Dickinson County, Kansas, in their regular meeting duly assembled on 23rd of January 2025, that the County Commissioners request the Director of Accounts and Reports to waive the requirements of KSA 75-1120A, Section A, as they apply to Dickinson County for the year end December 31st, 2025. I need to read the last part. It's basically reverberating.
The same.
Resolving. Okay.
And actually, this was the, what, B item?
Yeah, sorry.
So,
Did I not say B?
well, but we don't have.
Oh, I'm sorry, on the
order.
agenda.
But since you read that it's resolution 012325B,
B.
I'll go ahead and move that we adopt that resolution.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
And sometimes if it's a housekeeping one, I think on the other, it was helpful to name the names and so on.
Okay.
But on something like this, since it's pretty much standard, I think as long as we get the resolution and
Okay.
that, we don't need to read through the
Well, I would
entire thing unless,
greatly appreciate that. I can read if you guys want to hear me read.
but if on the other, it was so specific, certain names and so on, I think, and the banks that needed to be.
Right.
But
I'm new. Give me a little bit.
well, I'm just, cutting down your reading time. That's
So next order of business is the ROS resolution, rural opportunity zone. Resolution
Well, do you want to go ahead and pick up?
will be passed.
You want to go ahead and pick up?
Oh, you're right.
Resolution A.
Yeah, you're right. Resolution number 012325A, not to be confused with the previous one that I just listed, so that's my mistake. This is a resolution for the Board of Dickinson County Commissioners authorizing participation in the Rural Opportunity Zone Student Loan Repayment Program, calendar year 2025. And just for the record, we will not actually allocate any monies to this program. This is facilitated by the Economic Development Corporation and the Community Foundation for Dickinson County.
I'll go ahead and make the motion. We adopt resolution 012325A.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. That is the end of our resolutions. We'll now move on to unfinished business, which I don't believe we have any. Moving on down to other business, there's a consideration to purchase a motor grader for the highway department. I actually spoke with Janelle and Billy from our highway department about this. He informed me that the old motor grader, what was happening with it is the hydraulics. We're getting pretty weak on it. If you guys know anything about motor graders, I'm going to boil it down. There's two systems that are pretty vital, the engine and the hydraulic system. I actually spoke with another gentleman that I work with now who used to run a road crew out of Missouri, out of the Nixa area, Missouri. And in his opinion, if the hydraulics, are starting to go, you're going to start getting into some pretty costly repairs. That machine that we had previously, I don't know the exact hours of it, but I know it's over 10,000.
Over 10, yes.
And, essentially at that point, you need to start considering, do you want to dump 10, 20 grand fixing a hydraulic system, or do we move on to a new machine? I would agree that it's probably time to move on to a new machine. Just wanted to give a little background before we went into discussion.
The other thing that I would like to point out, looking back, and they're willing to offer us a trade-in on the grader at $44,200.
Okay.
So, which is good.
How much?
$44,200.
That's pretty good.
So is that reflected in the price here, or is that minus that price?
That would be minus that.
Okay.
So our output would be, and I think you've got the sheet in there, 42.7. Yep, 42.7.
Something to add, commissioners, to that. I asked Billy, how much hours are we putting on these a year? And he indicated we were putting around 250 to 300 hours a year.
Yeah.
You assume we're going to get to 10,000 hours again, or even a little more. I mean, you got well over 10 years of use out of a machine that's going to only cost the county about 42 grand. So
Considering a new one is a couple 100,000, 315.
I could say you can go higher than that.
Higher than that, right.
I think it's a pretty good deal, but I'll open it for discussion.
What about leasing? The townships are all leasing theirs. They don't own them. Is that a better deal or not?
Our mechanic and Martin, they're not interested in that. We have a very good mechanic that are willing to do that. And it's just one more thing to manage. They're comfortable with this one. So.
Well, if you find something that's used and keep it going and so on, we're, a lot of the early depreciation, that part's factored out. So see here, the staff recommends the 2015 Volvo from Foley, and that was the one that was 86,900. And as Janelle mentioned, we also are getting a trade that's reducing that 86,900. So I would make the motion that we go ahead and accept this 2015 model with the trade-in from Foley.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll buy a new motor grader, or a used new one, I should say. And now, I've never done this, so you're gonna have to coach me. I would move that we would,
Go into executive session for non-elected personnel with the county commission our county
We
council.
need to wait till Doug's here or?
That's what I was curious about that.
Well, I'll be reaching out to Forrest, our employment attorney as well, but we can include Doug in that. I don't know when he's going to be back, but if you wanted to move on, we can just do it with Forrest as well. And then you'll also have to mention the length of time and who will be in the executive session.
Would it be appropriate for Kenny to make a few comments if he had some before the executive session? Or any of the other commissioners, and then that way, if Doug does happen to show up in the next 5 minutes, we can he'd get the full 15 minutes.
The comments I would like to make are concerning essentially the decorum and how we run the meetings. We briefly touched on it in the work session. I'm a firm believer that Robert's Rules of Order is a great way to conduct a meeting. What I'd like to do eventually is actually make a formal resolution that we adhere to the rules of Robert's Rules of Order. I would also like to address the public comment rules that we have. I do think it should be a little more at the discretion of the commission that if we want to allow comments, we can. I don't want to just set it to where no comments available. I understand that the statute provides us that liberty. I truly believe as elected officials, if it's a big enough issue, we got enough people in here, I think we need to listen to some comments. I do think we put up some time constraints and maybe how many people can actually make a comment. I don't want to turn this into an 8-hour session either. So I think we need to respect the county employees' time as well as the commissioner's time, but also respect the views of the public. So those are a couple of things I'd like to address. The other thing, and this is something me and Janelle visited on briefly, that would be to pass a resolution formally stating the powers and the abilities that the administrator has. And really, that's a reverberation of the statute that's already in place by the state. I'm only going to add maybe one contention to that on the agenda setting. But like I said, I'll bring a resolution to this board so we can review that. And really, what I'm doing there, it's not that I don't think we respect the rules. It's just a formal policy to say to the public, this is how we conduct our meetings. And then furthermore, if we leave our positions, it gives us some direction for the next commissioner or commissioners coming in, giving them a little bit of a roadway there. I'd open up any discussion if you guys want to talk about that a little bit.
Well, the only thing that kind of comes to mind, and I almost hate to admit that I've gone online and looked at other county commissions and city commissions because it's like, oh my goodness, we have enough here. But as you look at some of the ones of our neighbors and some of the larger ones, it seems every county commission, you might say, has their own personality of the way they do things. And some do it with more formality than others. And so I think some of the initiatives you've mentioned, this kind of gives us opportunity to kind of shape a little bit of what we want here. And then the other thing that I noticed is most counties and cities do have some sort of a specific rule for public comments, and some are more specific than others. And I think sometimes what happens is sometimes the structure of that has to do with the reaction of how the public is and what issues they've been dealing with. And so sometimes when things apparently got out of hand or tipped a little bit one way, all of a sudden they started coming up with rules where sometimes commissions really don't have any rules because it's just kind of a discussion and someone shows up and they're able to express themselves. But sometimes I do really appreciate some of the public comments. Some people will tell you privately because they aren't comfortable with this setting to step up to a podium. And that's a good way to relay information. But if they do have something to say, it needs to be at the podium so others can hear it. And if they feel that strongly about it, they ought to be able to say it in front of a group also. And so it's good to visit that. And And if we need to reshape it or want to reshape it in any way, we certainly can.
Well, I'd like to add just a little bit of my 2 cents worth in. I respect Kenny's words on Robert's rules, and he said it right. It is a formality to keep things in order, but it is not the law. And there's other rules you can go by. But I do have a problem when Robert rules stops action from happening. When there's an incident in our community and we're waiting for Robert's rules to be corrected correctly, and somebody's stranded or somebody needs help and we're waiting for that, I have problems with that. So we need to be action officers moving on an object, not sitting around looking at, picking at Robert's rules said this or that. I got it. And I've read through many different versions of Robert's rules, and they're called different, many other things. I respect having orderly conduct in our meetings, but we need to be action officers too, to move on things. And that's all I have to say.
Absolutely, I agree. I think a lot of that could be dictated by the chairman and the vice chair and moving through the agenda, getting things done. I don't disagree with your words at all, Rob. That's not my intent, is not to lock us up in agenda rules and setting like that. That's not my intent. It's just to mainly, like I said, the respect and the decorum. I want to lead a good board, want to have respect in this room. And to do that, we got to have some decorum, a little bit of framework. Like you said, it's not law, but it's a good way to guidelines.
Yeah.
I think that, they had an interesting picture. Sorry, a little bit of a joke. They did the, what is that movie, Pirates of the Caribbean? They're,
Yes.
they're not laws, they're more like guidelines.
Yeah.
So I agree with you, Rob. Now that we have our counselor here, I would move that we break for an executive session to discuss employee personal matters at
Non-elected
non-elected
employee.
employee personal matters. I would move that we break that's for that at 11:38 for a 15-minute executive session.
To include the county commission, county councilor, Forest Roads, Marcia, Marcus and myself.
So I'm going to reverberate that to include the county commission, Marcia, the HR director, our county administrator, Janelle Dockendorf, the commissioners, and Marcus Rothschild,
And Doug.
and Doug, our county counselor, and Forrest, our employment attorney.
Correct.
Since it's 11:38, let's make that 11, why don't we make it 11:40 to give time to clear the room?
That works.
That's okay.
Okay.
For 15 minutes.
So at 11:40, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll break at 11:40.
And let you know, we just had a conference call with the state on it. And 8 counties that they listed
I did not.
are covered,
I should have.
no removal. The other ones, everything else.
Yeah.
There's still.
I'm not leaving, but
I'll get better.
Well, sometimes we spend the same time too in this.
And I printed these off. I tried to read them this morning.
Oh.
Going through it. And, I coached them a little bit. They didn't get.
Yeah.
and I'm not 1 minute before 15, so give me a minute notice that there's one.
Knocked 3 times.
All about that.
Yeah, sometimes we'll give 2 minutes to clear the.
Hey, Forrest, this is Janelle. We haven't officially gone in yet, but I just wanted to get you on the line. And it's for 15.
I am here.
minutes. Okay.
Are these still recording?
They're still recording until 11:40 and then she should hit the mute. It never hurts to remind, are we on mute? Or also are we muted once we come out? I mean, just in case you.
Okay.
So we're 11:40 now, so you can mute. It's 11:55, Mr. Chairman, so I would move that we leave executive session and return to regular session.
And I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. I would move that we break for an additional 10-minute executive session, including or to discuss an employee personal matter,
Non-elected.
non-elected employee personal matter. I'll get it right.
Here's a sheet somewhere, but yeah.
In an executive session, we will have Janelle Dockendorf, County Administrator. We will have County Counsel, Doug Thompson. We will have HR Director. I'm sorry.
Marcia.
Marcia. And then we will have Co-Administrator Marcus Rothschild and the Commission
Forest Roads.
and Forest Roads.
Yep.
Our employee attorney.
Yes.
And I'd say we start at 11:57 to give us a minute to clear the building.
All those, we have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Yeah.
I'm going to practice that one.
Yeah, there's a sheet somewhere that was laying there. I know. That's,
Stay there.
yeah.
We got over like 4 X factors, you know.
That's crazy.
We don't want to do this regularly.
No, I would hope not.
Mr. Chairman, I would go ahead and make the motion.
Gentlemen, can I offer something real quick before you jump out of executive session?
We're,
Hang on. Well, we're back in,
Yeah.
we're right back in regular
Do we
meeting.
need to go back 5 minutes? Forrest?
Well, if you,
I think we should then. So for right now, I'll make the motion that we return to regular session from executive session. It's 12:07.
I'll second that.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Opposed, your nay?
No, opposed, no.
Oh, opposed, no. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
All right, now I'm going to give this a go for the third time. I would move that we return back to executive session for a 5-minute period. This executive session will be to talk about a non-elected personal issue of an employee. In that executive session, we will have our Forrest, our employment attorney. We will have Doug Thompson, our counsel, co-administrator, our deputy administrator, Marcus Rothschild, county administrator, Janelle Dockendorf, and HR Marcia included in that executive session to start at 12:10 p.m.
AM.
a.m.
PM.
p.m. p.m.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's 12:10 p.m. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Good Lord.
5 minutes.
Bear with us.
We'll make it a 30-minute.
Just a little.
Sorry.
No problem.
Well, you know,
At least it's coming up those last minutes.
not quite.
about 30 seconds.
Is anybody online staying with us on these? I guess
So
so.
far.
Having fun today.
Hey, you know, at least it's your second meeting, so.
Good training.
There you go.
Okay, Marcia, you can probably.
That,
I would make a motion to adjourn.
well, real
Or
quick,
do- Oh, I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead.
had a handout. Do we need to discuss this? Did you have a handout?
Oh, no, that was just what we talked about in the studies.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Just
Yep.
wanted to make sure. Yeah, go ahead, Lynn, make your motion.
Yeah, so since there's no action to be taken as a result of that non-elected personnel discussion in executive session, I would go ahead and move that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Get my pen and my